Hello everyone, it's me Sam Wong again. So this is another week. Hope so far you enjoy your weekend and everything's go well. Before I recap for what happened last week in the market, which has remained to be very strong, just will show you a graph, which actually is a research done by a company that basically talking about the revenue and the forecast in the future. As you can see in this graph in 2021 and the prediction 2022, per the report is talking about the estimation of the revenue and really the profit is start to narrow it down, because of various reasons. So its sales estimate is actually forecast to be lower for fourth quarter 2021 and also flat for 2022. And in order to make it continue to strong and deliver the profitability, you really have to be company have to focus on the margin expansion. But however, it's kind of difficult because of the cost of rising, and in some cases, some company may projected that they're going to pass on some of these raw material supply chain increase of cost to the customer. Therefore, we recently actually in America do see the inflation, which is, even though the government statistic keeps showing 5.5%, we all know that you go out to buy something for food. I don't know, you go to Home Depot, buy something, and you will realize that it's already gone up more than 10% possibly. I'm pretty sure there's something actually cheaper than before. And also up to 5.5%, just bear in mind, it's exclude energy and food. So, I don't know how people can live without those two major items, but the government trying to really take care of these really necessity and kind of claim that the inflation is not as severe as it really is. So in terms of, one way you have to be careful about what you see in the news and what you talk about in the media, because people can have a fact and then try to manipulate and then give you storytelling, which is really deviate from the reality. Before I move on to talk about last week, I also want to show you a snapshot of Nasdaq in a 6 months view. Again, you can see compared to April, which is 2 quarters before of the earnings, after the earnings, is actually have slipped to the lower point, and the Nasdaq as around that time the yield curve have rose to 1.7%, which remain as a really great concern. So after the announcement of FAANG with the growth start to produce announcements and so on, the last week of April actually have a huge sell off, and then you have the huge round adjustment of then, and then you start to rebound because the yield curve has got lower and push it back up for the whole quarter. Really, if you look at the trend from a quarter perspective until July, you see the same thing happen again, but this time it's not deep. It's not falling as deep as the deep of the previous quarter around April, and then you can see it gone up again, and that's in between up to the quarter point you have another dip, and then you see the slip again recently in the month of September or so, but then at the end of the day you really are rising again, and you actually did a pretty well job. So Nasdaq, the high crossing will be 15,702 to the next upside target, and close already below the 20-day moving average crossing 14,937, which already passed that. So you push the next resistance, which is 15,446. So we'll see if we're going to cross that, which only a few hundred points away, and then the second resistance point will be about 15,702. And actually, if you hit a 15,500, you really already hit another record high again for Nasdaq. And it'll be really critical for this one. I'm going to bring up on the next when I'm going to go to the recap and bring it to the what to look forward in the upcoming weeks. You'll hear more about it. And then the next one I want to show you with another major index, which is S&P 500. Again, you see the similar pattern which actually discussed previously on my other videos. It was April has a dip again, and you follow again in between and the climbing here, and then after the quarter in July it has another dip, which this dip is more a little bit steeper than the Nasdaq on the one, and then you climb back up overall again until you reach a month of September, which kind of up and down, but overall it's actually in this slope of that downward trend, and then in October again, it start come back and pick it up. So the point of S&P 500 in this case, the 20-day moving average with 43.97, which already passed that. And the top is post. Then the first resistance point is 45.32 is also a pass, and second resistance point will be 45.50. We'll see if it go through that, and if you hit over that, then there's a possibility that it will actually climb higher, and it will be another record high again. So I mean, the S&P 500 is really close again to a record high, and Dow Jones actually hit over that. So despite we can see the volatility in October, in the week of in the weeks of October, and also in September actually was kind of a pullback. It will actually coming back up a very kind of strong, and we'll see if it's going to be the momentum continue. And then before I move on to talk about really what happening, the recap and following week, and I would like to actually share a few thoughts as well. Again, if for those who hear my video, knowing that every time I post these stock, and Tesla will be one of the biggest gain, and that when I posted it, it was only like close to $800, and now it's reaching actual record high. And then P1, when I show the other stock as well, it also actually are rebounding and climbing up pattern with 20%. So I'm showing these stock, and a couple of them are actually only, so I hope it will actually reaching out the momentum and will be continuing with the gain. For Facebook though, Friday it was actually, because we'll cover that, but pretty much is impacted by the April movements and the policy change. It really impacting that, and you want to be warned, a forefront. So the stock actually hit a 4% down, and if you look at Facebook overall, 1 month pattern, it was really from $350 dollars, and really dropped to almost, here is really the lowest point, but this is almost the second lowest point at this moment, is $325. JP Morgan is really targeting and saying to start with $400. And if you look at Yahoo Finance, just look at Facebook, it'll give you the target price is also around $400. So you can look at a lot of analysts still looking at this point. Facebook is either hold or buy. So there will be Facebook will be announced earnings this week. So if you report poorly, which I don't think actually it probably will be estimate again, and if you react poorly, you may come back down, then I think it's time to, because last quarter, if you look at the prices, which I don't have that, but you can click again 6 months, look at the trend, or look at historical data prices, it's actually from 200, let's climb up, at that point it's already kind of high as well at the point. It really moving up from that into $360, which is pretty remarkable for $100 gain. But if we're going to cover and talk about Netflix a little bit, recap, it actually Netflix was doing the kind of same amazing story. So right now, if you really, let's say, drop down $300 off, I think is good to buy for Facebook. I mean, Facebook, most of the revenue is coming from advertisement, and it really did pretty well from that perspective. Like you can look at a lot of retailers, Nordstrom, JCPenney, Macy, they all posted their advertisement into the Facebook, and then there's some other big companies as well. So something to think about. And the next one, I really love this. If you are thinking to buy a Google, again, for a Chinese stock that performing the same in China, with China 10 billion populations, will be really good for that is really Baidu. Baidu actually, if you look at the chart at the record high, it was actually hit over $300 and dropped at one point when the really poor relationship between and the great high tension between China and U.S. and with the tariffs, and all this Taiwan story. Now don't get into it, and also talk about potential delisting because failed to be able to comply in the following year 2022. So there was a lot of pressure for a lot of foreign companies to sell off Chinese stock. So they were actually recently, just less than a month ago, it was dropping to $140. And at that time, if you go back to my video, I was really recommending to buy as a Chinese stock will definitely already beat up so badly and poorly, you'll rebound. And if you have bought about $140, which a couple of my friends did, right now is, you drop at $177 on Friday, but really at $181. So if you do the quick math, this is about 20% of return, which is pretty marvelous. I actually bought some at 250 at the IPO times in Hong Kong, which US already slipped around that price, but it kind of remained high. Then I bought some at 160 to dilute, not at 140, but 160 dilute. So my actual price is roughly about $200. I really think this stock will ultimately hit $200 mark, and I'm not promising we hit 250, but if you think about where you was 140 or even 160, you got $200, that's $40, that's 25% return in a short time frame, like a month. That was really amazing. So this stock, again, I still think it's looking good. The other one, which I have talked about previous video, Pinduoduo, maybe next week or show it in my YouTube video, talking about history, how things were going, and I really think you were pushing it up in November 11 as one of the largest sellers, just like Amazon during the Prime Day. So hopefully there are a lot of sales, and somehow they were amazingly that in the despite the pandemic influence impact in 2020, the sales of Pinduoduo was still stronger than 2019. So someone will find a way to really push the sales very hard in different advertisement marketing campaign. Then the next one I want to talk about, which people hear me a lot of time about, which is CCL, also United Airlines, UAL, which is why I recommend it. If you look at which United Airlines, maybe next week I'll show it on YouTube as well. If you think about it, what the amazing about this, which I've been talking about, is at the pre-pandemic level, right? Which is, we know the pre-pandemic at the 2019, end of 2019. You really look at the pricing from this perspective, they were actually $51. So, and then at 2018, they were really as strong as like $70 level. And if you look at previously, just a month ago or so, CCL was actually have 52 high $31, and then you slip it down because the pandemic was saying more severe, and then new virus coming up and came up, and then actually the stock was done as low as 1950. So if you bought in 1950 and you actually from 1950 you pick it up to $25.50 at one point at $26, you actually profit really good money, $5 if you think about it for 20. That is 20% in a month. So, or maybe less than a month and a half for sure. So then you look at this, they tell you the story that if you bought it today, which is still a very attractive price, $22. Eventually, I bet, not necessarily Christmas time, even I think Christmas will have a lot of activity, vacations, going to travel, so it'll be cruise pickup and also airline pickup, revenue pickup, but you may not hit that at that quickly $40, but I am kind of looking forward and confident $30. So let's say if you bought in 23 and you hit 30 by Christmas, which is, like two months from now, less than 2 months from now, so you make about $7 out of 23. That is a remarkable 25% return in a month or so, right? 6 weeks. So think about that, and then if you want to hold it for long run, I'm confident that you will hit back to $40 minimum, and then bowling as well. I'll get into that maybe on the next video, which I mean, all the analysis and all the stuff I look at, of course, semiconductor, which remains very high and strong at this moment. EV pick up with this quarter, like I said before the earnings, they probably will beat the sales delivery estimate, which even though there's some of the EV still at a loss, somehow the momentum should pick it up. But then the one called BYDDF, it was actually did pretty well. If you look at it, they hit record high now, which is, if you bought it at the time I have recommended, you will make it, 5 to 10%, if not a lot. But again, that stock is pretty solidly positioned. And maybe a slip back, I may buy back because I'm waiting if Apple will be confirming doing business with BYDDF, and then that will be a cooperation because they do need the battery to develop the EV Apple car. So now I'm going back. So having that, looking at all this stuff, I think you have the information and better understand what's going on with the market. And let me do a quick recap so that you know what's going on in the last week. So China's third quarter gross domestic product growth slowed to 4.9%, year-on-year lower than expectation, the slowest pace of growth in a year, hurt by power shortage and supply chain bottleneck that causing the global stock market were mostly lower in overnight trading. But the U.S. index, however, pretty firm on Monday. While stock advanced on Tuesday as investors digest a slew of new earning results that top Wall Street expectation. Companies including Johnson & Johnson and Procter & Gamble were among those to post quarterly results that exceed the estimate. Although the latter also flagged the impact of raising material shipping prices. The company also, there were a few more companies that also beat earnings, Domino Pizza and Delta Airlines. Delta Airlines has said that they post a better than expected profit, which was minimizing, have a smaller losses than expected because they were still operating impacted by pandemic. Netflix also amazingly have announced that the quarter they have gained it, increased 440,000 subscribers and top estimates. The stock closed at 639 end of Tuesday, and right now is even stronger, better than that. And really amazing. What amazing about this is, before the quarter, if you look at $665, that's why in previous quarter it wasn't performing very well. So after the announcement, that what kind of drawing some disappointment and potential of the increase of commission and losing subscribers, it dropped to $470 in range. And if you hold it for 3 months from $470, you realize now hitting $650. That's $200 gain out of, let's do the simple math, $700. It's still very amazing that it gives you about 20+% return in 3 months. So sometimes it's very hard to really knowing this, these type of announcements, because they say it was bad, we projected would be poor, then all of a sudden they come up really interesting episodes, and you call Squid Games. The Squid Games was really a reflection of what happened in South Korea. A lot of young people in South Korea have a very hardship, and I just read the article, reflecting that, which is a couple of three South younger Korean explained their life and how the Squid Games, this episode related to South Korea, and they were basically saying they will actually join the game if the rich people create a game like that for them, which kind of explain a lot, and I guess that is really the background why, and the story probably pretty interesting too, and that's how you're driving so many subscribers into it. I actually haven't tried watching it, but I may, so then I can share more about for that to you. But just wanted to let you know why. That's explaining why Netflix is going up. So having the same perspective with Disney, that's why I'm thinking, Disney stock will hit from $168 now to $200 at least, because there was some Marvel movie going to come up and a couple of things that help, driving that space for them. And theme park already reopened. And then the post-share Bitcoin strategy BITO symbol, made its first trading on the New York Stock Exchange on Tuesday, become first ever U.S. exchange with trader fund to offer investing in futures of the cryptocurrency. So that's why I also explain why Bitcoin had gone up to $71,000 at one point. Really, right before this thing go official. Because there's a lot of expectations and also speculations about that. But new residential construction declined by 1.6% last month, the commercial department said in a Monday report Tuesday. Building permit also sank by 7.7% in September compared to August. We're dealing with supply chain challenge because of a unique situation that we're in right now, where we are unleash a lot of demand before business were really ready for it. This may persist for some time. Drive volatility raises some concerns. Brian Levi, U.S. Global Market Strategy of North America, told Yahoo Finance Live on Monday. But ultimately, I think that the supply-demand imbalances will moderate and enable this cycle to move on further. What you want to hear from business are those that continue to believe that demand is going to be strong and continue to believe that they have some ability to work through the supply challenge and pass on some of those cost consumer yet. Global stock market were mostly high and overnight again on Wednesday. The Eurozone September Consumer Price Index also reported up 0.5% from August, up 3.4% year-on-year. Those numbers were right in line with market expectation. The US stock index had made impressive recovery from their October lows and now in a position to challenge the record high. Dow Jones actually reached record high, and S&P 500 was only less than 10 points away from record high, with Nasdaq and lower due to profit taking. A good start to the third quarter earnings season has helped investors put the nervousness of September behind them, even as concerns over inflation, COVID-19, and China economy still linger. So far, approximately 70 S&P 500 companies have reported results, 86% post-profit earning the top analyst expectation. Southwest Airlines reported a narrower than expected third quarter loss as passenger revenue nearly tripled. The investor continued to see full earnings, including results from Dow Component International Business Machine Corporation. IBM, however, missed revenue estimate and sunk 8%. Tesla edged down 0.5%, but again, Tesla hit by end of the Friday is actually hit record high again. U.S. stocks were modestly lower in midday Thursday after the S&P index briefly traded above its record closing level. Again, then U.S. stock on Friday were mixed, with Nasdaq trading lower part of the yield curve again. Intel stock fell 9.8% after semiconductor company missed third quarter sales expectation when you were late to resell late Thursday. Snap stock slumped over 20%, actually 27% by the time the market closed. When the social media company which owns photo messaging app Snapchat said privacy changes implemented by Apple have hurt the company's ability to target and measure its digital advertisement. So Snapchat will get snapped it while Willie is stabbing on the face. Apple, Facebook also sank 4%, as I previously told you about. Twitter dropped 3.4% due to the weaker cost. So overall, because of the Snap news, Nasdaq were down. Mattel, which is the one that created toys, actually rose 6% after the maker post strong quarterly earnings and raised its 2021 sales forecast, because there's a lot of news flowing around saying, hey, you know what? The heading was saying, hey, kids not going to get a Christmas gift. Well, that's not a true statement. I mean, there's still plenty, there's still a way, and now you're only in the end of October. You still have plenty of time, really, if you want to buy a hat, for the Christmas gift 2 months. So I don't believe the news when I say, what you have to be careful again in America is there are a lot of exaggeration news. There are a lot of news that doesn't have any proof. There are news that they're just cooking. Basically, just want to get people want to click in and read. Because it's really, we're in an internet world where over 50,000, I mean, you probably get data overload every day. So if they don't write anything very attractive for you to read, you won't even bother reading them. So just again, be careful about that. And Zoom Video Communications stock rose 3.1% after JP Morgan upgraded investment, and Urban Outfitters also rose 3% after upgrade by Citigroup. U.S. stock did get a reprise from Chinese property developer Evergrande, which managed to make a key bond payment 1 day prior to the end of 30-day grace period. The U.S. manufacturing PMI actual was 59.2 compared to consensus 60.3, and previous month was 60.7. last step was being by Snap News again, so it's down. And one more interesting thing they must share with you, the Digital World Acquisition, which is a SPAC, DWAC symbol, is actually has something to do with the former President Trump, Donald Trump, and the stock was raised from $15 to as high as $175. Now at the Friday close about $94, and the after hours drop another $10, but still very amazing from $15 to $80. Can you believe that? So whoever bought the stock, really profit a lot from that. And maybe I guess that's just one way to show that how many supporters Trump really have. Tesla hit a record high, and WTI crude oil rose 1.67%, landing on 83.88 by end of Friday. Gold also jumped over slightly 1,800 per ounce. Global growth expectation turned negative for the first time since March 2020, with the net percentage survey participant expecting a strong economy next 12 months coming in a negative 6%. So why not a lot of people don't look at the economy growth as good as the earlier year. That's really what the bottom line is. 15% respondents said they anticipate profit growth will be slow, representing the worst outlook since May 2020. Fund manager also set money aside, and weakening the outlook. The upcoming week, like I said, again, will be very critical to future direction major index, as Facebook will be reporting earnings following Monday, along with Google and Microsoft Tuesday, Apple Wednesday, and Amazon Thursday. So again, in my prediction, I really kind of expecting that they're going to be the estimates, and it's not really surprising as they have very strong and solid sales. Apple will talk about their iPhone 13, how they are, and talk about iPhone 14 and future innovations. But I think the outlook is really the key, how they perceive the sales and the profitability on the next quarter, end of the quarter of the year, and also the 2022. I think that will really make the investor very interested about the growth and really perception of the market valuation and what they think about if these stocks will continue to be getting stronger, and and the balance sheet will get bigger. So again, this will be very interesting to see. This really will be the key for the more. So I'm perceiving the first 3 days things will still be good with these announcements. So the market may still push up a little more. As such, the yield curve remain, again, I said 1.5% or lower. So, but if there's suddenly a spike of yield curve, just like last time in the March-April timeline where you see the slip here in NASDAQ, it was actually 1.75%, 1 point the yield curve up to. Where 1.25% wasn't very significant, and it's actually still lower than the average of 2.2% to 2.5%, depending on how many years you use to average it out. But the market didn't like that. So the sensitivity of that, given that even if the companies that are going to be performing exceed, and if the outlook wasn't good, if the yield curve wasn't stable at the level that seems to be good, attractive for cash borrowing, you really have a risk of stock going down. So the coming week will be last week October. If you ask me, I'm thinking the first 3 days will probably still be good, but Thursday, Friday is very hard to say. There may be some profit taking as well, people, because they still worry about the curse of October. So not until you hit November 2nd, it's really difficult for me to conclude that, okay, this time the quarter will be still very solid. Company report earnings, then next will the growth start, that how they're reporting, and things will continue to be stable, sustain, or go up. But even if they drop, you're really not going to be crashed like the way original people were worried about 20% crash, 50% crash. Maybe if there are correction, I would say 5%. That probably is with the way how things go at the moment, unless there's really a lot of bad news. And again, that's also the other thing on the international outlook is, well, how does other Chinese real estate stand? Were they really gonna be in debt as well, not able to pay their obligations? How the renminbi valuation against US dollar is gonna be? How the economic overall globally going to be looked for remainder of the year, and also how Biden the $3 trillion reconciliation act what is gonna end up, and then if they brought up the corporate tax increase again, when it's gonna happen? Fed tapering basically oil pricing at the moment that thinking November will be, which is next month, gonna be starting it. Nobody expected the interest rate rising at this point, and so if the Fed coming into suddenly want to potentially raise interest rate earlier and end of the year, then that would drive the market going down because that's a bad news. So these are the really and then pressure of inflation, which also will affect the confidence of investor. Fed Chairman Powell started changing the tone and recognized that inflation may be here to stay. So investor already kind of potential will be also priced that into the equation about about their confidence and optimism about the stock market. Again, from a global perspective, U.S. stock market seems to be the leader. There's no question about it, and they're strongest. And they continue. If you look at it in 2 years consecutively, really pick up until except for the March, where when the crisis happened, which the stimulus and the rescue plan started with the U.S. government. You have been really since then picked it up and gone up. So that's why everybody will worry about if the crash will happen like the year, 2020 or 2008. So again, the growth of revenues and high profit will remain to be in focus. And I hope everybody will make money. And again, 20% of the profitability, if you look at short term, you want to lock into that and probably sell whatever you were able to make. Like these Chinese stock probably already reached 20% return if you were buying it at deep and 3 weeks ago. Hope you like my video. If you have any questions, just send me as an email. I'll try to answer it. If you like it, please give me a like. Please ask more people, forward it to have more people subscribe. Have a nice and wonderful day. And right now the futures and the last recap is right now the future Dow is up 13 points and Nasdaq down 155 points, which is 1%, and S&P is slightly down. But again, this is not very accurate until Asian markets start open up, then they start to trade the futures, and also then the European market open up, then that will be actually a much better measurement and stay, because the volume always is not very it's not very large, that can very easily to be manipulating and not necessarily reflecting the reality until really the market open on Monday. That's why you have been seeing the futures have been actually deep, but then when the market start after an hour, actually the market start to pick up in the positive territory.